Okay, Lord, let me be able to get this opened. Oh yeah, this has to be cleaned out. Cobwebs. Thank you, Jesus. Good morning. Today is July 1st. This is just a very quick video. I had seen a video on YouTube just a couple of days ago. I believe it was from the Zen Gardening or Zen Gardener. And he had shown a recipe for a fertilizer that would help to boost your garden. It was made out of just basically dry yeast. You could also add some components to it to help boost it a little bit more, make it better. I'll leave the link down below just so you can check out the video as well. So I'm doing an experiment. So I did the recipe last night in a quart jar. I think it's a quart jar. I put in some yeast and sugar, let it ferment overnight, and so now I'm just waiting for my bucket of water to kind of heat up a little bit more. Usually for yeast, it's good to have it between 95 and 105 degrees just for the good bacteria without killing it or slowing it down. So right now what I'm going to go ahead and do is just take you around the garden a little bit. I just wanted to show you what the garden looks like right now with this heat wave that we're having here in Texas, and show you how my plants are just so sad and struggling. This weekend I was watching YouTube and I came across, I think it's either Zen Gardening or Zen Gardener. I've watched him off and on over the last few years. Like what he has to teach about, taking care of your garden and your plants. And I seen a video that he did a while back that was made with dry yeast, and it's supposed to help bolster your soil and help keep your plants healthy. And some of the benefits that he cited in the video is that it helps not only just boost your plant's resistance to disease, but one thing that really caught my attention is that it's supposed to help it maintain and deal with heat waves and droughts and things like that. And I figured, well, since we are going through a huge heat wave here in Texas, that I would just give it a shot. What could it hurt? My tomatoes are really struggling. I did get a lot of fruit on my plants this season so far, even though I started late, but they're not ripening and I'm not getting any more flowers set because of the heat. So I thought I'd give this a try. So what I'm going to do today is I filled up this bucket of water, and I'll put a link in the description to the recipe and how he does it. But I need to let this bucket of water, I keep saying bottle, but this bucket of water heat up a little bit. I know at least for cooking, culinary purposes, yeast should be fermented or bloomed between 95 and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to leave this out here and I'll test the temperature. And once it gets around at least 95 degrees, I'll mix in the yeast mixture and water the garden at the base of the plants that needed the most first, and then just hopefully have enough water. I should have enough water. So I'm going to start by just showing you a quick view of the plants that are really struggling the most and what I'm dealing with right now. Again, this is not a garden tour yet, but just to show you a before shot of what the garden looks like on July 1st. And it is now, I don't have my phone, not a good thing. Hold on, I'm gonna get my phone, okay? Just 1 second. Okay, so I am back. Let's see, it's 7:24, and it is 80 degrees right now Fahrenheit. And I am going to go ahead, just like I said, take you along the garden and show you what's struggling, what the plants look like. Don't judge, it's Texas, I started late. Okay, so right here, this is a beefsteak tomato. As you can tell, it is struggling very much. I mean, I've got some very crispy leaves right here, yellowing and more dying. Up here, the leaves aren't even as green as they should be or as green as they were. And behind here, I've got some cucumbers here and melons that were doing very well. Now I do have some that are starting to take off right there. But I mean, it's a very nice sized vine and it is growing. It just hasn't flowered and it's getting yellow and diseased. So I'm hoping that this will help. And I had a tomato plant on this stake earlier, and I'm not sure if the heating vent killed it and that maybe this is why this pot is struggling. I've got suckers coming off on my tomatoes. So I'm going to pull a sucker and put it here and hopefully and see how it does. And if it continues to struggle, I'm just going to move this pot from over here so it's not near the vent and then just deal with these two pots here. Because I'm thinking the heat from the dryer may be affecting the growth of the plants. You can see there's a lot of flowers on here. I've got a lot of yellow flowers going on here, but unfortunately they're all males. Oh, but you know what? I think I see a female. Yep, that needs to be pollinated. Right, let me see if I can show you guys this. Let's see if I can reach. Right there is a female I need to pollinate. So hold on one second while I pollinate that because I'm not having a lot of bees this season. Close your eyes. These are beans that have been struggling. Gonna definitely douse that as well. This is an Rapicante squash that should be doing a lot better usually this time of year, but as you can tell, the leaves just aren't looking too good here. So I'm gonna definitely have to douse that. And these are doing a little bit better. This is a Kajari red, no, sorry, this is actually a red curry squash. These two, I don't know, but as you can tell, that one is really struggling and that one's really struggling. As well as my strawberry tower here. It's just hard to keep this. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not good. So I've got a lot of strawberry runners going on, which I know I'm not getting strawberries because when they're putting their energy into the runners, they're not producing strawberries. But yeah, this is getting a little too dry. I just can't get it moist enough. And I keep seeing these little white little cotton things all over the garden and they're flying around in the air. I have no idea what they are. At first, when I saw them laying on the plants, I thought they were mealybugs, but they're not. It's just like little tiny cotton that is like floating around the garden. So if anybody knows what that is, please let me know. I'm just not sure what that is. So, and this right here is my bitter melon, green, doing well, growing by inches every single day, so I'm not too worried about that. These are my beans. I think they're called saline beans. They're struggling. Starting to get a little disease on the leaves over here. So those need to be dealt with. This is actually a Waltham butternut squash. It's doing a little bit better actually. Making sure that I don't see any squash damage while I'm here. Yeah, but this has to be taken care of. Oh my gosh. This is an African bean, Mambabo or something. It was doing so well. All of a sudden, it's not. And I've always had issues with this bean, but I need to take care of this as well. Zinnias, you know, you can't go wrong with zinnias. They do well, especially for me. So And these are my red Thai or red noodle beans. I mean, these leaves have seen better days. Let me see if I can focus for you. And these are normally really good for me in the heat, but for some reason this season, once it started getting really hot, they just started shriveling up and not doing so well. I'm still getting some noodle beans on here, not as much as I normally do. So I'm a little concerned about that. I do have a couple of more here, or actually 3 more here that I've sown. Oh, and here's another one coming up. Little tiny baby right there. So I'm hoping that kind of makes up for it. These are little baby assassin bugs. Oh my gosh. I was a little bit alarmed when I first saw them, but when I did the app seek to see what they were, it did say assassin bugs. They're looking for food. And this little thing right here, this little baby sad thing is a basil. I had a little bunch here, and they're not doing well. They're struggling in the heat. They haven't gotten much bigger. So this is the 4th attempt of doing basil, and I'm hopeful because there's little green right there showing that it's still trying to survive. So I'm hoping that 4th will be the charm and that it will grow. This right here, that doesn't look good. I'm just not sure what's going on with these pepper plants over here that were doing so well. And they're still producing, but just especially like with my jalapenos back here, I'm not sure if you can see. Let's see here. My jalapenos right there, they were producing a lot of large peppers, but now the peppers are just a little bit smaller. Ooh, look what I just saw. Right there. That's the assassin bug. You go, boy. You do your work. Just leave the beneficials alone. This tomato plant right here, I'm not sure what it is, but whatever it is, you can tell it's really struggling. And they were putting off a lot of fruit, but all of a sudden they stopped, obviously because of the heat. As you can tell here, if I can get this to focus, these blossoms obviously dried off and died because of the heat. I have more right here that did the exact same thing. As you can tell here, I've got some crispy leaves. Same thing with this over here. I've got some crispy leaves over here. And I'm not sure what these 2 tomato plants are because I lost the tags when I transplanted them. So I have to wait. I know they're paste. This is a red cream paste tomato. This was the twinkle of my eye in the early season, and it was doing really, really well. Ooh, look what Mama's got. Oh, he's eating breakfast. And he's also dropping seeds. I will have definitely some volunteers in this area next season, but... Alright, so bear with me. I had to switch out to my Osmo because for some reason my other camera wasn't focusing quickly enough. And I need to get going on watering before it gets too hot. So to show you more what's going on here. Eggplant is growing nice and tall, but no fruit, no flowers, nothing. Oh, and it looks like I have fruit right down here that needs to be harvested. Right there. Here's something else that needs to be dealt with. I'm not sure which squash this is right here, but it needs to be dealt with because it's small compared to this one. And I know they're different varieties, But these were all seed started and transplanted at the same time. Soil conditions all pretty much the same. As you can tell, this one here, which is the zucchini, is just taken off. This one is just finally starting to take off. This is an acorn squash. But yeah, it's all struggling. This bed here, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with. Here in the center, behind the tomato plant, I did have a couple of borage plants there that just took over the whole garden, and then I just had to get them out of it because they were just pushing everything out. So I need to figure out what's going to go there. These tomato plants here, these are some more paste tomatoes. Again, these are struggling. And again, they were setting fruit, but they're not ripening. There's no more flowers coming up. So I'm hoping, and see, these are ripening, but they just don't look healthy. They don't look healthy. And this right here is a Roma tomato. I mean, these are just, they were doing well for a while, and I mean, there's new growth coming here at the bottom, which I'm gonna have to cut back because one, they're not healthy, and two, they're too low on the main vine. This is a tomato plant that I started from a sucker. This is a get stuffed tomato, and it's doing very well as a clone, but now I see that it's starting to stress out. The leaves are curling. I'm getting some disease on here, so I need to take care of this immediately. And here are some suckers here. Normally don't let suckers stay this low on the plant, but this here, I'm gonna let it stay because I just want to make sure I get enough fruit this season. Even my borage is struggling. This is white borage. It's not flowering, which you think borage would do well in the heat. Corn. Second planting of corn since the one by the storm shelter did not do well. And these are struggling too as well. I'm just kind of hoping the yeast kind of helps to boost the growth of these going on. But these are some pole beans that I started late because I was having trouble again with other pole beans with pests. I mean, this season with pest pressure, I am not happy at all. Here's a get stuffed tomato here that, oh gosh, small little tiny fruit, just pathetic little fruit. One fruit on here, but it's just starting to, oh, actually no, forgive me. Thank you, Jesus. Here's some right here I didn't notice before. Don't know how I could have missed these. But here's some more right here too as well, but they're small. And there's just shriveled, crispy leaves. And looks like these are starting finally to ripen. And I think once Petey gets home tonight, we'll harvest these for a little snack. But yeah, this right here, this plant, as you can tell, is pretty tall over this trellis. It was doing very, very well, just putting on fruit after fruit after fruit and flower. But now it's starting to deal with the stress of the heat. Right here, a bunch of crusties. Yeah, so I'm hoping that helps with this as well. I need to trellis this up over here. This needs to go up. Here is another yellow pear tomato. It was doing well. As you can tell, it's growing up here on this trellis pretty well. But again, crispy leaves. These look like they're starting to ripen a little bit. So we'll see. I am so sad right now about this plant right here because this was my pride and joy. Okay, so that was Pete. But anyways, this is my get stuffed tomato. This is the one plant that was doing so well that I pulled the sucker off and made that clone over there that I showed you earlier. These are a little bit more of like how the size is supposed to be on these tomatoes. They're still a little bit small in size, but these are closer to that large tomatoes. And this is doing so well. It was getting nice and tall, probably about 7 feet tall maybe, I don't know. But now it's just like all the other tomato plants, they've succumbed to the heat, stress, getting crispy. So it is what it is. Oh yes, Angelica Holy Ghost. First time ever grown this, don't know what it's gonna do, but it was really nice and lush and green. Watered it pretty well. I mean, it's got new growth coming on, so that's a good thing. But it's yellow. It's just, everything is just struggling. Sunflower, another one that's struggling. I keep getting chews on here, and I keep spraying this plant with soapy water just to keep the bugs from eating it, because when they eat it, they get suffocated by the soapy bubbles. Okay, so that took me a little bit longer than I expected. It's already starting to get really hot out here. It's now 8:11, and it is 83 degrees. So I need to get going, water this garden before it gets too hot for me. And I'm hoping by the time I'm done watering the garden that the bucket would have reached the temperature it's supposed to be at least 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I can go ahead and just add the yeast fertilizer to it and add a cup of fertilizer to the base of every plant and pray to God that my babies do better. I want a big harvest, so we'll see. But let me stop yapping my trap and let me start watering. Yes, you just did see me squash a squash bug in my hand, and it was not good. So I do have my soapy water that I normally use for grasshoppers, but that does nothing for the squash bugs. So now I just have some hot water with some Dawn soap and a little bit of spinosad, just so if I see them, I can drop them in there without having to squash them in my hand. Because I will never say never, but I will probably never do that ever again, ever. I think I've been traumatized. Okay, so it's now 11:51 and it's 94 degrees outside right now, and I cannot believe what I just did. I just kicked over and spilled my entire yeast. So, what am I going to do now? I'm going to have to do this project again tomorrow. What I'm going to do is use what I have now, because I have about half of the jar left. So what I'll go ahead and do is use 2.5 gallons of the bucket and just water some things in, whatever I have right now, and I'll have to just remake the yeast fertilizer again tonight and come out here tomorrow and try this again. So, lesson here, always listen to your gut. So what I guess I'm going to go ahead and do right now is just dump out half of this bucket, so it's about 2.5 gallons, and use what I have available. And it was all really nice and frothy. You could tell it was just full of life, ready to go. I am kicking myself right now. I'll tell you what, listen to your gut. Let's start with some containers. Now he said 1 cup per plant, but obviously I have tomato in here, I have cucumbers in here, so I'm doing 2 cups to make sure I get everyone happy. And this one is just sad. Just my poor little cucumber, 1.5 cups. This is really less than a cup. I'm going to finish the remainder on this fig. Alrighty, we'll have to start back on this again tomorrow. So I am done now with the little bit of fertilizer I was able to salvage, and I'm going to head in because it is hot out. And we'll just see how it goes. And I'll just do the whole experiment again tomorrow. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.